Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today to celebrate the size of this W, because Black Panther Wakanda Forever is a fantastic film. It's nice to know that Marvel is still capable of putting out above average products, because the MCU as of late hasn't been impressing me and has more so been leaving me disappointed. But I already plan on doing a video on the current state of the MCU and its less than stellar projects post-Endgame, so I'll be talking about that in the future. For right now, let me focus on this film and how it is absolutely excellent. Firstly, I want to get this out of the way and say how it is a miracle that Wakanda Forever turned out this good and honestly came out in general. Because, if you did not know, the original script for the film was completed before the unexpected passing of Chadwick Boseman, so the whole thing had to be rewritten. Plus, with the pandemic happening at the same time as the filming for this, making this movie was pretty much an uphill battle from the get-go. So I congratulate director Ryan Coogler and everyone else involved with the production, being able to get this made. Very well done. Acting-wise, everyone is doing their absolute best here. The standouts were undeniably Letitia Wright and Angela Bassett, who were both bringing their A-game here. Angela Bassett brought so much raw power and emotion when she spoke during the film. She absolutely commanded the screen, and I really would not be surprised if she got an Oscar nomination for this film. Letitia Wright is able to bring way more to her character, going more in-depth with Shuri, from when she was just pretty much a funny side character in the first film, to how she shows her more vulnerable side here, and about the loss of her brother, and the dark turn she takes when she loses her mother. It was really an emotional roller coaster seeing this kind of stuff, and that's probably the greatest strength of this film in general. Its message about loss and how to deal with it. The whole film is about different people handling loss in their own ways. With how Namor lost his mother and saw the devastation that mankind had caused, so grew to despise them and have an active hatred for them. Queen Ramonda stepping up to being the leader of Wakanda again and keeping her pain inside while she's moving on from the loss of T'Challa, while Shuri is struggling with how to deal with that loss, from bearing it without truly moving on to almost letting rage consume her, going on a warpath to kill Namor by the end of the film. The movie uses that message beautifully, helping enhance the story with making the villain more dangerous and the heroes more compelling. It was just so well done. And overall, the characters here were great. Having Shuri as the main character of the film and taking up the Black Panther mantle honestly made sense, and her arc throughout the film was really powerful. Before this film, she was just the funny, goofy Marvel side character that did jokes and not much else. But by the end of this movie, she was a fully fleshed and emotionally complex character. Namor is another fine addition to the actually decent MCU villains collection, being more than just an evil man who pushes the plot forward while being mean, but another leader of a nation who wants to protect his people, but unlike Wakanda, doesn't want to work with the rest of the world and instead wage war against it. Riri, or Ironheart, was a fun new character here. I have a little bit more to say about her later, but overall, I think she was a great addition to the cast here, and hopefully she'll get more development in future films. Everyone else here was great too, either getting amazing scenes here that blew me away or were just really fun to be around. M'Baku, hilarious. Okoye, great. Queen Ramonda, terrific. So when I say that every character here is great, I really mean it. Moving on, holy shit, the costume and set design is top notch here, just like in the last film. Everyone and everything looked fantastic. It really helped with the world building and giving a grand scale to both Wakanda and Talokan. Plus, with the CGI being vastly improved from the last film, it makes everything look so much more detailed. Talokan specifically was such a neat place to explore, with it being in the deepest parts of the ocean. The ancient Aztec-like architecture was just so neat. I do hope we get to see more of this place in the future, because I almost feel like we didn't get to see enough of it. Also, I especially need to commend whoever came up with the idea to make Namor an ancient South American-like warlord, because the glow up this man got is insane. I mean, we went from this to this, and that's just an amazing feat right there.
Makeover, 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 makeover for you.
And when looking at the issues with the film, there were only a few minor ones here, and although they dampen the overall great stuff in the film, it does not ruin the experience whatsoever. Firstly, I felt as though the threat here wasn't made entirely clear. Like, I love Namor and the whole Talokan civilization, but I feel as though they didn't make sense to an extent on how they were a threat. Like, we clearly see that these guys can cause people to just kill themselves, ride animals, and are insanely strong and durable, but then these guys only have spears, other melee weapons, and these neat little water bombs, but no other kind of weaponry or vehicles. And I'm supposed to believe that the technologically advanced nation of Wakanda that has an insane amount of sci-fi doodads would be weak against them? There needed to be a bit more shown to help illustrate these guys' power more clearly, because I don't see how anything is stopping someone from just ripping off their breathing masks and suffocating them. And just like that, any fight with them could be quickly ended. And even though I thought Namor was a great villain overall, with the great motivations and such, some of the decisions he made in the film made absolutely no sense at all. Like, firstly, when he and his people attacked the research station, did he not think about how other people would totally know where that attack was and would certainly come back? And even if the US government came back in full force, couldn't Namor and his people just totally repel their attacks? Like, if they could go toe-to-toe with the Wakandan military, what the hell is an aircraft carrier gonna do? So if Namor was so sure that he could take over the surface world, then why did he go to Wakanda asking for their help? And if he wanted their help, why in God's name did he think that murdering the leader of the nation was gonna help them allied to him? Anything involving the CIA except for Bilbo Baggins is super boring, and honestly has nothing to do with the overall plot besides for Bilbo telling Sherry and Okoye where Riri is. It just really felt like nothing more than unnecessary setup for the Thunderbolts film, since of course that weird colored hair lady is here, but that just doesn't fit at all with this film and is the only thing that ties this overall thing with the MCU stuff outside of Wakanda. So anytime we were with the government people, I really would have rather been checking out the ancient underwater city or chilling back at Wakanda. And the most interesting issue revolves around Riri, who's less of a character and more of a plot device. You see, I actually liked her character here. She was funny, smart, and overall likable, though she didn't get enough character. Like, she had surface level traits, but nothing really deep that helped us understand who she really was. Like, we get a bit of that at the end of the film when Sherry shows that she repaired Riri's car, who talks a bit about how it was her father's and that was a big reason why she got into mechanics, but that's at the end of the film, and it's really brief. And this isn't helped much since she didn't seem that important to the overall plot. Yes, the vibranium detector was made by her, but she didn't care about it that much and she only used it as a class project. At that point, it was pretty much the US government who had their hands on the equipment since the CIA got it for them. So then Riri wasn't that big of a factor since she had nothing to do with it after its creation. That's like trying to kill J. Robert Oppenheimer for making the A-bomb, but he wouldn't matter after he made it since at that point government got their hands on it and the thing was already built with the blueprints and everything being complete. You see what I mean? And hell, she was absent for a pretty good chunk of the second act and was nowhere to be seen. So even then, the film ran out of stuff to do with her. So Riri was just underutilized, and that kind of stings a bit. Since she was a fun character to be around, it just would have been nice to understand her more. But besides those small issues, this film is fantastic. I'm extremely happy with how it turned out, not only being able to live up to the massive expectations people had, but also being a loving tribute to Chadwick Boseman. Everything here was nearly perfect, from the sets, the costumes, the action, the villain, the acting, the characters, and the message. It was all fantastic. So of course, I gladly give Black Panther Wakanda Forever an 8 out of 10. And with Phase 4 of the MCU coming to a close now, I've gotta say it's nice having Wakanda Forever be a nice silver lining, because I haven't exactly been impressed with what Marvel has been putting out lately. From mediocre prequels and sequels, uninteresting snorefests, unfocused messes, and scattershot TV shows galore, I can definitely say that out of the whole bunch, only 3 projects were good with no massive drawbacks. Everything else is pretty much up in the air. So hopefully the MCU can get back on track and find its footing again, and make a strong comeback to get back to consistently making good films like before.